Have you ever took a moment to properly explore why you do the things you do? And it might sound like a stupid question, but most people's first answers are wrong. We take for granted the things we do in our daily life because we have this surface level reason for doing them in our minds. You go to the gym to better yourself, you shave to keep yourself looking sharp, you wear that cologne so you can smell good, simple as that. And they're perfectly valid reasons, I'm not saying otherwise. However, once you do a bit of a deeper dive, you might uncover your true intentions, and maybe they're not as pure as you once thought. This all sounds very cryptic, but the concept is actually pretty simple. You take something in your life that you do consistently, specifically a good habit, and the easiest example to use for me is the gym. So now, why do I go gym? I'm going to answer as if I was my 16-year-old self. So I go to the gym so I can be stronger, I can look better. Okay, so why do you want to be stronger and look better? I guess I just want to feel better about myself. Okay, fair enough. Why would that make you feel better about yourself? Why would being stronger and looking better make you feel better about yourself? Uh, well, I don't know, maybe 16-year-old me might have been stumped. But I'll tell you why. It's because other people, not me, other people will see me in a better light, and maybe I'll be treated better, or maybe I'll just value the opinions of others too highly. I believe many people do good things just for their own sake, for their own pride in their achievement, to feel better, to do better things. However, I also believe that when we're young, a lot of the time we're kidding ourselves. In the world we live in now, with constant modes of comparison in the form of social media, we come to value other people's views of ourselves higher than our own view of ourselves, which is backwards if you think about it. Having said all this, I don't think it is necessarily a bad thing, me personally. I started going to the gym for the superficial reasons, I mentioned before. I don't think you'll find many 15, 16-year-olds who can say, oh, I started the gym for better mental clarity and to feel better in my day-to-day life. If so, well done. You're miles ahead of me at 16. But you know what? I don't regret a thing about how I started. Some people might label it as the wrong reason. What tends to happen is as someone matures, they start attributing intrinsic value to their achievements, a value that doesn't come from the approval of others. So, okay, here's a good mental exercise to reveal if you're more intrinsically or extrinsically motivated. So take any endeavour in your life, whether that's academic, athletic, a hobby, or literally any other pursuit, and ask yourself this one question. If no one could ever find out about my achievements, the only person who could ever know of my accomplishment is me, would I still do it? Would I still do it despite the fact that other people's views of me would remain unchanged? If your answer to that question is yes, well done. You've found a pursuit in your life which you just do for the love of the game. You can call it a passion, maybe. And if your answer is no, that's good as well. You've revealed something about yourself that you might not have realised before. Let me ask you another question. How do you know if someone's done a high rocks? They'll tell you. How do you know if someone's vegan? They'll tell you. So these are light-hearted jokes, but they kind of hold some truth to them. Everyone knows the stereotype of someone who objectively is a really high achiever by all measures, but one trait just makes them insufferable. It's their need to flaunt it, the desire to make sure everyone around them knows about it. And what's happening there is they're suffering from a lack of intrinsic motivation. And I'll take another example of the person who betters themselves and doesn't feel the need to tell anyone about it. Like, their own pride is enough to satisfy them. I'm sure we can all agree that the person is going to be a whole lot more fulfilled in that situation, a lot more satisfied with their lives. And here's another thing. The person who is dependent on the view of other people, as soon as you take away those peering eyes, they're a lot more likely to fall off. You take away their extrinsic source of motivation and now they can't hold themselves to their own standard in privacy when no one can see them. And I'm talking about this theoretical guy in the third person, but in all honesty, this guy's me a lot of the time. We fall into these traps of trying to uphold this outward facing image that the world is going to see. However, I find that the bigger the difference between that outward facing image and your own self image, the less consistent your motivation is, the lower your fulfillment is, and interestingly, the less connected you feel to other people. Look, I don't mean to demonize this mindset at all. It's just human nature, it's the way we evolved. We're social animals. Of course, we want to uphold a certain social standing amongst our peers. So, what is the next step? People say knowing is half the battle. That's what they say. And I do kind of agree with that. You can't solve a problem if you don't realize you have a problem. However, I'd say half as generous. While no one allows you to address the problem, no one's ever learned their way out of a problem. So, how do we actually shift our mindset from an extrinsically motivated to a more fulfilled and consistent, intrinsically motivated one? Mindset shifts take time and effort. Having watched this video, you're not just suddenly going to go away and not care about others' opinions. In fact, I don't think anyone should reach that end of the extreme. We need to find the right balance. And how do we do that? I find that shifting your mindset is a game of practice. The moment I realised my reliance on other people's opinions, I began to catch myself when I did follow that pattern. I'd be preparing for my marathon and I would have done a really good workout. I'm really proud of it. And my first thought would be, I can't wait to post this so my friends can see how well I'm doing. And then I'd take a step back to realise the trap I'd just fallen into. The best thing to do here is to take a moment to step back and shift the focus to the pride of achieving for the sake of achieving. And in that instance, I think to myself, you know what, maybe I'll just keep the activity private. People don't need to see this. And why do I do that? It's so I don't let myself feel a validation from the external source. I just remove it. And then what happened? I was just left with the internal source of pride. That's all I had. Only after weeks and months of doing this and drilling it over and over again, I noticed a concrete change in my default mindset. I found that I was doing things for the sake of holding myself accountable, to build that self-trust within myself, rather than to uphold this image to others. I believe that everyone's mental health would improve if we could just make these small but significant shifts in our mindsets. At the end of the day, I'm still doing the same things that I would have been doing when I cared more about other people's opinions, but now I'm doing so in a way which leaves me with a greater fulfillment, greater mental health, and the desire to succeed even if no one finds out. And I hope that with what I've said in this video, you can follow a similar path. So thank you.